All right, guys, squat mechanics. So, squat mechanics we're going to go over with. The things I'll say right now is you want to fire your glutes, keep spine neutral, breathe, right? Really simple things to start off with. We'll get a little bit more detailed as we go. So, I'm going to start off with a sandbag, and I'm going to show you what we ideally want to see in a squat. I'm going to start from the lateral view. So, squats, we want to see, again, flexion at the hips, right? And you're not moving the spine. Again, remember that one joint rule. We're keeping that spine nice and neutral and stabilized, right? So I can bend at the hips all I want, coming down, making sure that squat is off on the hips, glutes essentially are firing, and you're coming down into it, stabilized spine. So down here, squat on the side, neutral, picking up, down, up. So I like to say squeeze my butt, make sure your butt's active. Squeezing butt, glutes here, squeeze at the top, just to kind of get them firing a little bit. So, breath going. Okay. So, from the anterior view, I'm going to go over a couple things that we're looking at and that we want to see. So, starting off, we're going to again borrow from Becoming a Supple Leopard and Kelly Starrett. We want to screw our feet into the ground. So I will always give cues out, and sometimes I can't see when you guys are breathing and bracing, for instance. So I'm always going to shout out cues during class, just so they're reminders, because they need to be there. Again, I need cues all the time. We all need cues. Some of us trainers and coaches are getting trainers too. So the cues are always helpful. So we're coming down. I like to screw my feet into the ground, right? When I'm looking at where I want the distribution of my feet, generally we say just an even distribution. So pretend like the center of mass point was going right through the middle of your foot, right? So we have even distribution on the foot, on the toe side, and the heel through your squat. So we're looking at, again, screw my feet into the ground. What we want to do and what we want to see when we're coming down is we have your knees shoved out. So we can go more in depth about how that's going to increase your glute contraction. If you're curious, you can come in and ask us. But that's why we're doing it, because we want to get in a position where your glutes are going to fire more effectively, and you're able to kind of screw the feet and the legs in, down, and use your glutes a lot when you're coming up. So as I'm coming down, I want to see knees coming down, shoving out a little bit. Again, my feet and my toes are staying relatively straightforward. If your toes are coming out a little bit, okay, that's fine. For regular squats, sometimes we might do sumo squats, where we'll definitely vary up your foot position where you're going. But just for regular squats, toes straight forward, a little bit out if they need to be, and your hips are coming down and your knees are shoving out. Okay, so generally when I'm coming down for a squat, the way that I train from the beginning is when you're coming down here, if I'm grabbing the sandbag, for instance, I want my elbows to be like right here on my knees, and that's just how I train clients in them initially. We can work on variations from there. So I'm going to go down, elbows are right about that knee point, okay, in, squeeze butt at the top, and down, okay. So the one thing to keep in mind, one of the most important things with your squats is get your glutes firing. You guys need to come up through your glutes more in a hinge. We'll use our glutes definitely there when we're doing hinge technique, which we'll get into on day 3. But when you're squatting, you need to use your glutes, guys. A lot of people are what I like to call under glute firers. So, because they're sitting at a 9 to 5 or a desk job all day, they're in positions where their glutes aren't having to do a lot of work. And if you guys ever seen butts, they're big. That glute muscle is huge. My butt's big. Everybody has most people have a pretty big glute muscle. And we need it because, again, we were evolved to walk upright, to get that hip here, and to squat a lot and just do a lot of hip flexion and extension. That glute is what's going to move that, okay? Your quads do work, but a lot of people are quad dominant. They're coming into the studio and they're under glute fire, so we need to start turning those glutes back on. And again, it's kind of sometimes you need to proactively remember that, and that's why I say make sure and squeeze your butt, actively squeeze it at the bottom, squeeze it at the top, so we can get that neuromuscular connection wired back a little bit more strong and get those glutes firing again. So yeah, that's it for the squat. I would just say breathe, brace, screw your feet into the ground, shove your knees out, glutes firing, coming up, squeeze glutes bottom and top. Cool.